Time to get started. Hey, welcome to another edition of At the Track Live. I am Coach James. I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics, you ask? Even if you didn't ask, All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about physics, about aerodynamics, about drag, about potential energy, about kinetic energy, about Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, about elastic energy, about force, about a whole range of physics related topics. After I teach them about all the science, then I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars, and each student gets to pick a Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races. Then we actually have the series of races. They set up a 20-foot drag racing track, and we set up a tournament, and they race their cars, and they observe how their cars performed. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And why do they think that is? We're using the scientific method. We're using Hot Wheels cars. We're having fun. And it is an incredible class, if I do say so myself. You can learn more about the class if you go to our website at AA Aerodynamics, and then you will find out why and how the students have so much fun and learn so much. But this isn't all about aerodynamics. This is At the Track Live. And with At the Track Live, let's see. Get that off of there and that off of there. At the Track Live. At the Track Live is where I get a chance to introduce new Hot Wheels cars that I am going to then have a chance to bring to the students, because when I take the cars to the students, I have to be able to be accountable for each one of the cars so that I can get back all of the cars that I've lent out to the students to use for the program. And each car that is in the All About Aerodynamics At the Track Live fleet is numbered and logged into a spreadsheet. There's a picture and video taken of each car, so I have the ability to just find a car. If a student picks car number 245, then once they're finished using that car, I can put it right back into the appropriate slot and take it to the next school and know that I have all of the cars that I should have. But before I can bring a car to the students, I have to catalog it. And before At the Track Live, what I would do is just get a bunch of cars, put something on the TV, and then just open the cars, take the pictures, catalog them, put them in the spreadsheets. But I started to think there might be a better way to do that, and a way to make what I have to do into something that is fun to do. So I created At the Track Live, and what that is I have crates of Hot Wheels cars that I've purchased over the last few years that are just sitting in the packages because I haven't had a chance to log them into the spreadsheet. So with At the Track Live, what I do is I grab a handful of those cars from the crates, crack those open, we take a look at those, review those, and then take them out to the track to see how they run. And the part where you can play a role is that if you go to atthetrack.live, you will see 3 options. You will see an option for the YouTube link and the Twitch link, which you don't need because you're already here. But the third link is one that says choose a car. And if you select that link, then it will take you to our website. And on our website, what you will have the opportunity to do is look through all of the cars that are currently in the All About Aerodynamics At the Track Live fleet. And they are all cataloged, pictured, numbered. So what you can do is you can look and find a car that is in our list, and you can say, I think this Dodge Viper GTS-R is faster than whatever car that Coach James just cracked open. And you can click on that car to take a closer look. And if you decide, yeah, I think that's the car I want to pick, then there is a number in front of the car. You take that number, you drop it in the chat, and just like that, I will see that, and I will go and pull the car, and then we will take it to the track and race it against whichever one of the cars it is that you want to race it against that I crack open. And again, so this is part of the process. There are hundreds of cars. I think at this point we're now up to 520 cars. And the last one that was entered being the Ford Ranchero. We would have had 521, but unfortunately this double vision car, as we found out from the last race, the engine sticks out too far and it wouldn't fit into the launcher. So that precluded that car from being a part of the entire fleet. And there have been a couple of cars that just don't fit into the launcher. And let's take a look at some of those. Because the launcher, as you'll see, and as I've explained in the past, it has a channel that the cars fit into. And the cars have to be, let me turn this way, lock in this focus a little bit right there, and let's zoom on in, take a look. So the channel that the cars fit into is about the width. It's just a little wider than a standard Hot Wheels car, but this part of the engine, this part here, it stuck out too much. And unfortunately, this car, even though I like the look of it, I like the paint, I like the design, this engine sticking out this far wouldn't allow it to slide into the launcher, so it couldn't be used. And while there was a car previously, the Metro Rail, that it wouldn't fit into the launcher, and I ended up cutting off the plastic exhaust headers that were sticking out around the side of the body to make it fit. This car, I would have to cut this engine here, and I like this car, and I don't want to essentially damage it beyond, well, definitely beyond repair, but in a way that just takes away from the beauty of this Hot Wheels car. And I was thinking I might be able to pull that out, but no, it's not. It doesn't lift out, so pretty much stuck. So on gravity tracks, which I do have one of the 6-lane gravity tracks, I could use it there in demonstrations with the students, but unfortunately this car, too wide, can't be used. Another car that couldn't be used, and it's a shame because it's another good-looking truck, is this one. And with this, you can see, even though it's not, like, the tires stick out, it's already a wide truck, and then the fenders, but then the tires stick out even wider. And this is another one that just wouldn't fit into the launcher. So let me see if I can get this. Like it's just wide. Now if the tires were flush with the body and not sticking out beyond these fenders, then it may work. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And this is another really good looking truck in this case, that cannot be used because it will not fit. So that is another one that is out. We had this one, what was this one called? No Matter What. And this was one that, again, another interesting looking car, but unfortunately, it had a design issue, which you can see here, is that this part of the car, it would fit. It would fit into the launcher. But as you get to the back part here, you see that it flares up and out, and it does so on the bottom. It flares, out, and like this V shape. And unfortunately, it's just too wide. This tip right here, it's just too wide to fit in the launcher. Now, if it only flared out, or if it didn't flare out at all, then it would fit. But because it curves up like that, it will not fit in the launcher. And so that is another car that unfortunately cannot race. And I was kind of curious to see how it would do, especially with the different wheel sizes. That was an interesting feature and something that I don't see on too many different cars. And then it had the wider tires at the back, the smaller, more narrow tires at the front. And I thought that this car had a chance to do well, but of course, we'll never know because it is too wide to fit into the launcher. So there's that. Another one that had to be cut out. There's another, this Ford Bronco. Another good looking truck, but it's got the same problem that the other truck had. It's just that these wheels stick out a little too far, and therefore it wouldn't slide into the launcher. So at some point I wanted to have a truck competition, because a lot of these trucks, whether they fit into the launcher or not, are not going to be as fast as some of the cars that we race. But it would have been nice to see if that was an option or possibility. So I wanted to have a series of truck races, but I'm not sure at this point how many of the trucks, because I was looking in the storage at some of the trucks, and I'm not sure how many will actually fit into the launcher because of the width. This is another one. This is one based on a fighter jet. Let me see, what was this called? This is the XT3, and it was based on a kind of a fighter jet concept, and you can see there where that came into play. Unfortunately, something I didn't think about and notice until the end, or until we got out to the track, is that the bottom of the car, it has the one wheel in the front. And unfortunately, the track has a channel like right in the middle, and that's where the launching block slides through. So when I put this car on the track, what happened is this front wheel basically dropped into the channel. If you can imagine this plastic thing being the channel, the open channel. On the launcher, it's a hole. There's a hole there. And so when I line this car up, this front part and that front wheel dropped down into the hole, and therefore I couldn't use it. It was not possible. It wasn't going to happen. So I had to just settle for another good-looking Hot Wheels car that could not make the cut. So I don't know what to do with this. Usually the cars that I can't use are given away as prizes to the students and for answering questions or doing well in the class, following rules, etc. So I have a whole group of prize cars, especially some of the loose cars that I've gotten. Like I have like some of the Hot Wheels swap meets and meetups and things like that. I can, people are selling open cars, loose cars, and so I picked this one up loose, this Mazda 787B. Let's take a look at that. It's another really good looking car. And let's take a look there at this one. And the wheels, sometimes with the loose cars, it ends up a situation where the wheels aren't, there's something a little weird, and maybe that's why they're loose cars, or they opened them up, they saw that something was a little off with one of the wheels, and then they said, I'll just sell it loose. And it's not as bad as some of the others. It's just that the front wheels don't really seem to spin and rotate the way that I think they should. But they're still not bad. I'm just checking something because there is, when we started talking about the trucks, I found one that someone told me, oh, that one's really fast. They've seen other Hot Wheels racers using gravity tracks, and there was a particular truck that I was told other Hot Wheels racers online have found to be really fast. And I had one, and it should be wide enough or narrow enough to fit into the track. So with that being the case, I think I might introduce it. However, there is the fact that just because a car is good on the gravity track does not mean that it will do well on our track, which is a launcher. It's a drag system, so the cars are racing flat. They're shot out of a launcher, and they're racing flat. With the gravity tracks, where the cars start up at a higher position and then gravity pulls them down once they're released, there's different things that come into play. So like the weight. So a slightly heavier car is likely to do better on a gravity track than it would on our launcher. On our launcher, or with our track, the most important thing is that the car stays straight. And cars that don't stay straight tend to bounce around, and when they bounce around, it creates friction, and that friction works to slow the car down. So cars that can stay straight on our track usually do the best. And heavier cars, as we've seen with we saw with that giant, we had a giant I think it was a 59 Cadillac that it started off okay, and it was a heavier car. It started off okay, But then as it got toward the end of the track, it would just slow down. You could just see it losing momentum and slowing down. And it eventually got passed because it had lost that much momentum. So it started off quick, started to slow down, and got passed. And that's sort of the trend that we've seen with the heavier cars, is that they slow down, get passed. Whereas on a gravity track, that might actually work in the car's favor, being heavier. But if you're curious to see how our launcher compares to gravity track, you can actually go to our YouTube channel and look through the I forget which playlist it's under, but it's definitely there. And it's the title of the video is Gravity Track versus Launcher. And you can see there's a direct comparison where I have a launcher operating at the same time as the gravity track, and the cars that come out of the launcher just destroy every car that's released from the gravity track. Even when I give the gravity track cars a head start, the launcher cars still blow right past them. And the version of the launcher that I use in that video isn't even as powerful as the version of the launcher that I use currently, the one that I custom designed. So the current launcher is even faster than the launcher that destroyed the cars on the gravity track. But I understand gravity tracks are still fun, and there's a lot of cool and interesting Hot Wheels gravity track racers that I watch on YouTube all the time. It's just that for All About Aerodynamics, we need the cars to go faster, because the faster a car moves, the more drag and the more the air around the car, the more that the air that the car is pushing through impacts the car's performance. And so that's sort of the idea as to why I use a launcher and a flat drag racing track instead of a gravity track. So got that. Another thing that I mentioned before, that I'm working on a video about this thing, which is the Hot Wheels speedometer. And it is something that Mattel sold several years ago. And basically you attach it to the track, put it one end of the track here, one end of the track here. And as the cars pass through, there is a sensor here, and there's the other part of it. And when the cars pass through, the sensor records their speed. So as the car passes through, the front wheel will pass, and then once the rear wheel passes and the car goes completely past, then a number pops up on this screen. So you see the 0. So if I pass my hand through, okay, so 478. And so you get different numbers depending on the cars. And the numbers that you get are pretty consistent. They fluctuate a bit, but they're kind of consistent. But there's a few issues with this. And so the video I'm making is to see what exactly do these numbers relate to. Are they related to the actual speed of the car? And because these are 1/64th scale cars, then in theory, if this was accurate, you should be able to divide the number that comes up here by 64 and get the actual speed that this car, or the Hot Wheels car, is moving. And so you can do that, but then the question is, how do we know that's accurate? So what I have is I have a radar gun, and the radar gun, I set that up at the same time. So the radar gun is operating, this is operating, and when I run a car through, then I get a number on the Hot Wheels speedometer, and then I get the actual miles per hour on the radar gun. So then I can do the math and determine whether or not the Hot Wheels speedometer, how close or accurate is it, or is it just a fun toy? Is there any use for this? If it's not accurate, then what's the point other than, is there a point to it other than just being kind of a cool toy? And it's not really something that you have to worry about because Mattel stopped making these. So you can find them on eBay or somewhere online. You're going to pay a lot of money, but the question is, why pay a lot of money for something that isn't accurate unless you just want it to enhance your overall, the look and feel of your track setup? But while I was doing some research on this speedometer, I actually came across a guy who's based in Hong Kong who has designed a Hot Wheels speedometer. And it's a speedometer / finish line. And the way he's designed it, it tracks it. It takes a lot of different information, and if you can connect it up to a computer with the right software, it pulls in all kinds of information that I think would be useful and helpful for the All About Aerodynamics program and for the students to learn more about exactly what is happening with their cars while they're on the track. So I ordered it. It's expensive, and apparently it's handmade, and it will take about a month. It seemed like they said it was going to take a month for them to build the thing and put it together and then ship it out. And then with it coming from overseas, who knows? So probably I'm hopeful that maybe I'll get it by Christmas sometime just before the new year. So that's coming, but I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm definitely interested because pretty much going from this to, like I said, I have the radar gun, and that's one thing. But with this new thing that I purchased, see, the radar gun can only measure one car at a time, whereas the new thing that I just bought, it covers 2 tracks, so it's perfect for our drag racing setup that we have because it will measure the speed of both cars, and that is just more data and more information to collect. And as I explained to the students, what we're doing is, yes, we're racing the cars, yes, we're having fun, but we can't make any real serious determinations about which car is the fastest until we have a lot of races and we collect a lot of data, and then we go back and look. And so then what we can look for are trends. Are certain types of cars faster? Cars from a certain line? Are the faster than ever cars? Are the gold hot ones cars? Are the made for the track cars? Are what the cars with the plastic bodies and the metal bases, or the cars that are all metal? What are the trends we see with the cars that win? And so the more data we have to collect, the more we can know, and the better conclusions we can come to. So those are some things that are on the horizon. So I will, of course, let you know when I get that new speedometer, finish line, etc., in the mail, but probably won't be for at least a month and a half or so. But today, what we are going to do is I've pulled out 6 more cars. We're going to take a look at those, and then we are going to take them to the track and see which car is the fastest for today. So we will start with, let's see. So I was going to use this. I was going to start here with this Ford GT, the 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV. And you might be looking and saying, I've seen that somewhere before, and yes, I have a lot of these Ford GTs. This one is a little different, but it's not altogether different from the one that we just had last week, which is this one. I mean, the color's similar, but this other one is just the Ford GT40. This is the 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV, and while they are, in theory, similar, they are different. They're different in size and shape. So that was one of the cars that I pulled. But then, as I mentioned, there was a truck that someone said, "Oh yeah, that truck it won one of the race that was really fast on one of the YouTube channel's downhill races." Well, it's this one, this Lolux, this weird kind of hybrid race car pickup drag truck thing here. So I think I will take the Lolux and replace that in today's lineup, or replace the Lolux, put the Lolux in place of the Ford GT. Because we usually want to keep it to 6 cars per episode. That kind of keeps us on track time-wise. So let's take a look at this one here, the Lolux. And this is, what year does this say on here? This says 2021. So let's crack it open. All right, let's get the Lolux up here. Very interesting looking car. Let's take a look. Let me get my photos set up, because we have to have a photo of the car, because that is ultimately how the students who participate in the online version of All About Aerodynamics are able to select their cars. They just look at the picture. And also, for you, it is what you are going to see when you go to atthetrack.live and you select choose a car, and you go to our page and you take a look. You are going to want to kind of know the shape and styling of the car that you're selecting. And so let me take this picture, locked in the focus, got it. And then, of course, I am going to also take a video. And as I've mentioned in the past, the videos are not necessarily something that I'm using currently, but it was originally, I was taking the videos because I was posting the videos of the cars on the our Instagram page, and then from there people could suggest cars that they thought were faster than the car that I posted. And then I would go back, find the car that they wanted to challenge the car that I posted. Then I would take the cars, have the race, record it, edit the video, upload it. And it was just too time consuming. And so essentially, All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live takes the place of that. And it happens in real time. So you can just go to that page, pick the car, and we'll race the cars immediately without having to go to the Instagram page and add the information into the contacts and blah, blah, blah. So there really isn't, I really don't have a need to take the videos anymore. I don't, it's not that I don't have a need for the videos. I just don't have a use for them right now. But I never know what kind of promotional thing I'm going to do. We have a series that we're starting on TikTok, with these rapid races. And in those, I can actually use these videos when I show which cars are going to be racing. So it's, as I said and will continue to say, it's better to have the video and not need it than to need it and not have it. So while I'm have the setup and I'm taking the picture, I might as well take the video. So we've got the video of this. This is it's a strange, again, kind of a hybrid racing drag truck thing, and it's very unique. It's got, similar to the No Matter What, the car that I pointed out didn't fit on the track. This one also has the larger wheels in the back, smaller wheels in the front. There's a metal body, but then the back half is predominantly plastic. There's some metal here, that white part. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how this truck performs on the track. But this is the Low Lux, and that is the first of the cars that is going to be racing today. So we have the Low Lux, and we are now going to get to another car that I pulled, and let's see, that is this one. This is one I picked up. This is a 67 Hemi Barracuda, and you're not going to be able to see it until I put it on the other camera because the car is green and there's a green screen behind me. So the car is appearing completely translucent. It's invisible. But this is from, the packaging is different. It's 50, let's see, like a 50-year anniversary. Okay, on the back, it has some information. It says, "You've just scored a piece of Hot Wheels history with a special 50th anniversary car inspired by the very first Hot Wheels, launched in May 1968. Since the first 16 cars were launched, Hot Wheels has gone on to become the #1 selling toy in the world, challenging you to go higher, farther, faster. That's 50 epic years. Here's to 50 more." So there are 5 cars here that they have, or at the time that they redid. And oh, look, there's a thing on here where I can win a 2018 Camaro SS. So peel here. That'd be something if I peeled this off and actually won. And but it was 5 years too late. But like most of the things that we've peeled off and some of the contests that were advertised, some of the websites no longer work. Ugh, it says peel here, but even the glue from the sticker is a little old. Still trying to pull it up. Let's see. Instant sweepstakes, win one of a bunch of amazing prizes, no purchase necessary, chances of winning. Playing is easy. Oh, here we go. It's another website. So I go to HotWheels50th.com, review the rules, put in my code, and then find out if I won. So when I'm taking the video, I'll check and see if this is a winning car. But I have a feeling that website is probably no longer up and running, and the contest is finished, and someone else has driven off with my 2018 Camaro SS. But anyway, so we've got this 67 Hemi Barracuda. It looks to be metal on metal. There's a little commemorative button here. So let me open it up so you can actually see it off the green. It's opened up just a little already. So let's get it over here. And let's take a closer look. at the 67. 67? Yeah. Hemi Barracuda. This will be car number 522. Get some light on it. Lock in the focus. And record that video. So this is car number 522. This is the 67 Hemi Barracuda. 67 Barracuda. All right. And I didn't check the year, but while we're waiting for that to go around, one thing I will check is it was Hot Wheels 50th. Hot Wheels 50th.com. And let's see. Now I gotta notice, this website may be impersonating HotWheels50th.com to steal your personal financial information. You should go back to the previous page. Well, I guess I won't be sticking around here. So, needless to say, it's yet another contest page that is no longer active and no longer viable. So I guess I am going to have to continue driving my current car, and I will not be driving a brand new 5-year-old 2018 Camaro SS. All right. So you've got that. And this car, it's got the red line wheels, the old school. I like that, the old school wheels itself, the red line tires. Stop this. Let me spin it around. It's got a little 50th logo on there. This is metal on metal, so I'm always curious to see how the metal cars perform. We had some when we were doing the 90s cars that did pretty well. Let's see, get the photo, zoom in a bit, not 2 times. We're going to go 1.4 right there. This is a good looking car. I think we've got a good, nice angle on it right there. A little bit of light. Lock in the focus. And bang. All right, so we've got that. So we've got our second car of the day. We've got the 67 Hemi Barracuda, and we've got the Lowlux pickup drag truck thing. So now it is time to get a third car in the mix, actually, on this Barracuda. Let me see what year they've got for this. 2006 is what's listed on the bottom. And even if there are like reissue dates or things like that, I still go with the information on the bottom of the car, because that is the information I use to track the car and ID the car. If it gets misplaced or lost, then I know to match the information on the car and find out which car is in fact missing. Okay, next up, let's see. So we've gone Lowlux, which I don't believe is modeled after a real car, so we'll throw that in the fantasy category. Then the 67 Hemi Barracuda, which is absolutely modeled after a classic muscle car. And now we're going to go, let's go with another, we'll go fantasy car. And this is one that I've seen in the grocery store in those dump bins. So those bins where they just throw the Hot Wheels cars in there. And it's not really good for people who collect the cars, because the cards get absolutely mangled and destroyed. And this is a perfect example. But since I'm not keeping the cards anyway, and I'm just cracking the cars open, doesn't matter that the card is destroyed. So I picked this car up. This is the Rocket Oil Special, and it's just a a drag car that's sort of reminiscent of that early Mercedes race car. If you go back, it's a silver. I've seen it at the Peterson Auto Museum here in LA, and it is just a long, narrow silver race car that it's a Mercedes Benz, and this kind of reminded me of that just a little bit. So let's crack it open, take a look. The Rocket Oil Special. This car seems very light. The wheels seem really wonky and wobbly. These wheels are awful. They're not even rolling. Okay. Let's take a closer look at this, because I think this car is going to be disqualified. These wheels are not even, let's see if I can, let me try and get a good angle. When I turn the wheel, like look at what they're doing. They're just wobbling around. That's no good. That's no good at all. Like, what kind of, and it goes off the side. This is terrible. So let me see if I try and spin the wheels. Look at that. That's awful. The wheels are just wobbling around. That's no good. I am curious about whether or not this would even stay on the track. Because if there's a defect with the car, which this definitely seems to be, that's horrible. Look at the wheels are just wobbling around. I don't get it. The front wheels not so much, but these back wheels, that wobble. I mean, look at the wheel. They're pointing inward. That doesn't even make much sense. They're just pointing in a V shape inward. How can that be useful or beneficial to the car? The wheels are wobbling around. I don't like that at all. Not one bit. And I don't think... what I'll do with the Rocket Oil Special is I'm going to set this car aside. And when we take it out to the track, I will race it. If it actually makes it down the track, and let's say it beats another car, then despite the wheels being all wobbly and weird, it will have proven that it can hang and race with these other cars. So then we'll race it. But as it stands, I can't imagine. It just seems like this is a defective car with a bad axle, and I don't know if that's something that should be allowed to stay, because I want the cars to at least have a fair shot in the races, and if they've got some mechanical defect, then that's no good. So I'm going to take this Rocket Oil Special, we're going to sit it to the side and see if it has what it takes to eventually make it down the track and make it in with the others. And therefore, with the Rocket Oil Special gone, that means we have to bring in another car. So then that brings in an opportunity to bring back this one, the one that got replaced by the Lolux, the 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV. And there are a bunch of variations of these Ford GTs, and I keep buying them because I really like the style and the look of these cars. So let's crack this one open, take a look at it, get it in the mix. Okay, we have no issues with the wheels on this one. Let's get this. Let's take a closer look at the Ford GT, the 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV. This is car number 523. And another really good look. I haven't seen a bad version of this car. It's just sort of like you can't. Maybe there's a paint job they could apply to this car to make it look bad, but generally speaking, I haven't seen one of these that looks bad, which probably explains why I keep buying them. And this shot looks pretty good right there. So we'll take the picture. Got that. And then now, time to shoot a little video. Of this one. Lock in the focus. Might help if I switch it to video. Lock in the focus, and there we go. Okay, so this is looking good. And let me get it into the spreadsheet. So this is the 67. Oh, another 67. So we had the 67 Hemi Barracuda. Now we have the 67 Ford GT40 Mark GT40 MK IV Mark IV. And I didn't check the year on this one yet, but the packaging says new for 2021. And the information on the back. The Ford GT40 Mark IV earned its place in racing history when it won Le Mans 1967 with American drivers, crew, chassis, and tires. This remarkable achievement remains the first and only all-American victory in the legendary 24-hour race at Le Mans. And so there we go. Great looking car. We have that there. Just, again, I haven't seen a bad version of this, and I think the only way they could mess it up is maybe with a terrible paint scheme, but I haven't seen one of those either. The bottom of this car is plastic, the body is metal, the year 2020, and there we go. So now we have, let me put the year in, 2020, good. And just a reminder, so far we have the Rocket Oil Special, which is questionable, mechanically questionable. We have the Lolux, which is the pickup drag truck. We have the 67 Hemi Barracuda, which is the metal on metal 50th anniversary recast edition throwback. And then we have the 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV. And those are the 3 cars we have so far. The Rocket Oil is like, maybe it might make it. It has to earn its way in. And if you want to select a car that you think would be faster than one of these 3, then all you have to do is go to atthetrack.live and then go down to choose a car. And once you do that, it will take you to a page right here. And you can scroll through all of the cars that we have in our fleet. You can find a car that you think would be faster than one of the 3 cars or one of the remaining 3 cars we're about to pull. And if you decide that, hey, I think the dual fueler is faster than the Ford GT40 Mark IV, then all you have to do is take the number of the car that you want, which is listed. So in this case, 144. Take that number, drop it into the chat. I'll go look up that car, pull it out, and when we hit the track, we will see which car is in fact faster. If you think that the Fairlady 2000 is faster than the Lolux, then all you have to do is put the number 156 into the chat and we'll go from there. So those are the options that you have, but we still have 3 more cars that we need to pick and take a look at before we hit the track. So let's see, which car is up next? We've gone, so we went fantasy car with the Lolux. We then came back with the 67 Hemi and the Ford GT40, the Rocket Oil Special. Not going to count that just yet until it earns its way in. So basically we've got 1 fantasy, 2 reality, 2 real cars. So let's see, next up, let's go, let's see, we'll go fantasy. And it looks like this could have been included in one of the previous episodes because this definitely seems to be a kind of a throwback car. This is the Attitude, which I think it was in one of the cars that we picked before was part of some collection. And one of the cars that was listed as part of the collection was this one, the Attitude. And this is an early 2000s car, 2007. And let's see what it says on the bottom of the car here. Yeah, on the bottom of the car it says 1998. So this is one of those late 90s, early 2000s cars. And like the other ones, it's got a fantastic paint job. Looks really good. A lot of attention to detail. But is it fast? Is it fast enough to beat the other cars that are going to be on the track? I don't know. That's why we race. But Attitude, the web trading cars. With these older cars, I like seeing what's on the back and what the promotions were at the time, especially with a lot of those late 90s cars where the internet and websites and things and internet promotions were just becoming kind of a thing. There's some interesting promotions that you'll see, and then we go to the websites, and of course 20 some odd years later those websites aren't up and operating, but nevertheless, let's see. So this car, the Attitude, born in 1999 in El Segundo, California. Hot Wheels designed it. A blast from the past, Attitude was built for breaking speed records. The massive engine sits inside the cabin right behind the driver's seats. Go to HotWheels.com to track your collection and to play games. So that's HotWheels.com is a thing, but there's not going to be any games we can play related to the Attitude. But what we can do is find out whether or not this car is as fast as advertised. So let's crack it open, take a look. Attitude, okay. Now this one feels particularly light, but it's a plastic base with a metal body. Get it lined up here. I'll just go ahead and shoot the video first. Lock the focus in. Okay, so this will be car number 524. The Attitude. Okay. Oh, should have had a capital T, Attitude. And the year I said was 1998. And this is just another, those cars from the late 90s, as we saw. a lot of attention to detail. The paint looks spectacular. It's got a metal flake to it. The decals with the flames on there, it looks good. It's got the accents. Is that like a, I can't tell if it's just a reflection of the light or is that gold. The interior, the engine is behind the tinted windows. The interior is reflective gold. It's got the windows are tinted. This is a nice looking car. It's got the wing in the back. Very nice. I don't know if it's gonna how fast it's gonna be, but this is a really good looking car. Now let me just get the still picture here and scroll down, zoom in there, get it lined up a bit. I'm always trying to get the best angle so that the students who participate in the online version and only have the picture to go by will be able to get a good idea of the shape of the car and all of the little additional features, whether it be spoilers, wings, diffusers, what have you. Then, although it'd be hard to see the diffusers from a 3/4 angle like this, but I just want them to get an overall impression of the car. And my overall impression of the Attitude is this is a really good looking car. I don't know how it's going to perform or how fast it may or may not be, but I like it. It's got, let's see, right, turn it like that. You can see on the interior, that's where the engine, it's hard to see through the tinted window, but the engine compartment is right there, and it's pretty nice attention to detail, which is something that we had a car a few weeks ago that was pretty fast, and with the car being fast, we checked it out, and it was a plastic body sitting on a metal base, but there was no interior. They didn't have any little plastic seats and wheels. Like, there was just nothing. It was just a hollow shell. And I think that contributed to partly why it was so fast, because it was big and light. So there's that. All right, so far, we have the Lolux. We have the 67 Hemi Barracuda. We have the 67 Ford GT40 Mark IV. And now we have the Attitude. So we've got 4 cars. Then the Rocket Oil Special is still hanging out, hoping it can get a chance to prove itself on the track, which we will give it a chance to do just that. But the cars that are definitely going in to be included are those 4. And now let's go to a 5th. And the 5th is going to be this one. This is a 95 Mazda RX-7. And this is definitely, absolutely, positively based on a real car, the Mazda RX-7. So let's crack it open, take a look. Okay, and as for the year on this one, this is 2017. So we got 2017. Let's get this here. Take a closer look. This one, just based on the weight alone, this car might easily be might be the fastest of this bunch. Although that Lolux is a big question mark. I'm not sure how it's going to perform, but this car seems like it should do very well. So let's get the still picture. Got it. And now for the video, let's get this thing spinning. The turntable is turning. Let's get it to go the other way. Always want the spin to be counterclockwise for the sake of consistency. So as this comes back around, let's lock in that focus. Get some extra light on it here. And take this video and enter this one in. So this is car number 525. Wow, I think we are really moving, and this is definitely a better way to get all of these cars included into the fleet versus the old way I was doing it. Never be afraid to try a new approach. The 95 Mazda RX-7, and I believe I said 2017. I will double check that as we take a look. We've got the five spoke wheels, kind of thin tires. Yeah, this is just there's not a lot to it. We've got some decals for the lights. We've got the emblem badge on the front. And it just seems like a no-nonsense car that's coming in and should do pretty well. I'm expecting a lot from this car just based on, let's see, it's got a plastic base, metal body, and it just seems like it's got the size, the shape to do very well on the track. So we have now gotten to our fifth car. We have our fifth car, so that means there is one more car remaining. So that means you have a few more minutes to go to atthetrack.live, go to choose a car, select a car that you want to see race one of the cars that we've pulled, drop the number in the chat, and I'll be able to grab it before we head out to the track. So you can go ahead and do that. And I am going to grab the last car here. And this is the Indy 500 oval. So this is clearly based off of an Indy racing car, and it looks like, I don't know if Hot Wheels actually had a sponsored an Indy car in the Indianapolis 500, but if they did, then perhaps it looked like this. Whether they did or didn't, this is clearly an Indy car that was maybe for one of the Indianapolis 500 races. They came out with this as a special edition. I don't know. But it is definitely a race car. We're going to crack it open, take a closer look, and then see how well it does, not on an Indy track, but on a drag track. Okay, the Indy 500 oval. And just checking the wheel situation. The wheels seem to be okay. So let's switch over, take a closer look. This car, lock in the focus, and then I will get it lined up appropriately and right about there. Whoa, wait, this is way too far in the back. Try again. About right here. Okay, now lock in the focus and shoot this video. And this is the 6th car of the day, number 526. This is the Indy 500 oval. And I don't think I checked the year on that, but I will do that to take a look at it. And this is another car that, presuming it can stay straight on the track, it might do well. It seems a little light, which light cars aren't necessarily the best way to go on our track, because you do want something with a little bit of weight to kind of ensure that the car stays grounded to the track and on course. But this car may be a sleeper. My gut tells me that Mazda is going to do something, but this car, maybe I should switch my pick to this one, because if it can stay on the track, it should move pretty quickly, in my professional estimation. Now let's get this actual still picture. Zoom in right there, and let me see. I mean, it is an Indy car, so it's not. This is one of the ones that the picture's nice, but because it's based on an actual car, a very specific kind of car, we all know what those look like. So let's get this picture. Oh, did I get it? Yeah. Okay. So you've got the picture. Let me check the year on this one. This is 2011. Okay. And there's no, and see, so with this one, there's no information on the bottom, which is usually where I have the students look to find out the name of the car, because with most Hot Wheels cars, the names are printed on the bottom. But in this case, there is no name printed on the bottom. So we'd have to go through a whole process of looking the car up online based on the information we have here. But this is the reason why it's important for me to go through and catalog these, because I have the name here. This is going to be in slot number 526. So when the student pulls it out and says, Coach James, there's no name on the bottom of this car, I can just pull up the spreadsheet, pull up 526, and say, okay, nope, that car is called the Indy 500 Oval. And that's it. So that is why it's important to document everything about these cars. Because there is a lot that it's easier to just get some of this stuff out of the way at the beginning, as opposed to waiting to have to look it up during the class. All right, so looks like we have our races set. We have the Lolux. We have the 67 Hemi Barracuda. We have the 67 Ford GT Mark 40. We have the Attitude. We have the Mazda, the 95 Mazda RX-7. And we have the Indy 500 Oval. And then we have the Rocket Oil Special, which it's going to have to beat somebody if it wants to stay and become a part of the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. because the wheels are bent at an angle that suggests to me that that car can't win. But stranger things have happened, and maybe it's a sleeper car that's extremely fast. I don't know. But what I do know is this. We are about to go to the track, and when we go to the track, this is the view that you are going to see. You are going to see 3 screens. On the far left-hand side of the screen, you are going to see at the top, you're going to see the launcher. That is where the cars will begin racing. I will give a countdown, 3, 2, 1, race. I'll hit the switch. The cars will come shooting out of the launcher towards the bottom of the screen. Then, once they pass out of the bottom of the left-hand side of the screen, then you can pick them up at the top of the center screen. That shows the center section of our track. And they will come from the top, and they will move toward the bottom of the screen. And once they pass out of the bottom of the middle section of the screen, you can pick them up on the far right on the third and final section of our track, where the cars will come down and cross the finish line. When they cross the finish line, the winning car is indicated by a solid red light. A flashing red light indicates the losing car. So, solid red light, winning car, flashing red light, losing car. And that is what you will see. So, we've got our cars picked out. We're all ready to go to head over to the track. So I will see you over there at the track in 30 seconds. Okay, so here we are at the track. I am just going to check. I always want to check and double check and sometimes triple check to make sure that first of all, my microphone cord's a little tangled up, but I just want to make sure that the audio is where it should be. Hang on, this microphone cord is really completely, totally tangled up. Get it. Okay, that seems like it did a little better. It's the kind of thing I really need to check on beforehand, but I didn't, so that's a lesson to me. Note to self. Hang on, let me just check to make sure the sound is where it should be. Okay, looks like we're good with the audio. And this cord is still a bit tangled up. Get this undone right here. Pull this out. Okay. Now we've got something. All right. Double check one more time. Checking the sound. Yep. Perfect. Okay, so we have 6 cars ready to race, and we are going to begin with, let's see, we'll go with, let's go with the Ford GT and the Attitude. So Ford GT and Attitude, let's see how these cars match up. Okay, so we'll put the Ford GT in lane number 2 and the Attitude in lane number 1. All right, so Ford GT, lane number 2, Attitude in lane number 1. And again, a solid red light indicates the winning car, and a flashing red light indicates the losing car. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Woo. That was a close race, but the Ford GT takes it. That was not bad. Not a bad way to start off this Saturday of racing. The cars are going to switch lanes, and we will go again. And as you saw with the rules, it is best 2 out of 3. So Attitude is going to need to take this next race if it wants to stay in the running for fastest car of the day. Okay, so let's switch it up. Attitude is now in lane number 2. And the Ford GT is going to be in lane number 1. Okay, so here we go. If the Ford GT takes it, the Ford GT moves on. And if the Attitude takes it, then we will have a third and final race. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. And the Ford GT takes that race even more with a more definitive victory than it had the first time around. So that is clear that the Ford GT40 Mark IV is a very fast car, at least faster than the Attitude. But the Attitude didn't do too poorly. It just was beaten out by a faster car. So we will sit the Attitude here, and the Ford GT40 will go over here. And now our next race, let's see. Let's go with we'll go the Lowlux against the Indy 400, or the Indy 500 oval. So let's see how those fare. First of all, just have to check to make sure that the Lowlux can fit beneath our acrylic cover that helps keep the cars on the track, and it can, so that's a good sign. Now, next up, all right, so we'll put the Lowlux in lane 2, and the Indy 500 oval in lane number 1. And this Indy car is very light. I almost feel like I don't want to speak it into existence, but I think a crash may be inevitable with this car, but we'll see. So Lowlux lane 2, Indy 500 oval lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Wow, there may be something to the rumors that I heard online that the Lowlux was very fast, because it absolutely performed incredibly well in that race. completely blowing away the Indy Oval 500. So that was very impressive. And I can't tell at this stage if the Lolux is just that fast or if the IndyCar was just that slow. So we're going to move on and have the cars switch lanes. And now we will see which car will move on with the Ford GT. If I can get the starting block locked in. Okay. So we're going to go Indy Oval is now switching to lane number 2. And the Lolux is now in lane number 1. Okay, if the Lolux can repeat that performance, it will definitely be moving on to possibly face the Ford GT40. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Lolux once again takes it. So the Indy Oval, maybe it could do better on an oval track, but this isn't an oval track. This is At the Track Live. And this is the drag strip, quarter mile, 1/64 scale drag strip, and the Lolux takes that race. So I will place that car beside the Ford GT40. And now let's see, what do we have left? We have the 67 Hemi Barracuda, and we have the Mazda RX-7. So let's get those lined up and see what happens. Okay, so the Mazda is going into lane 2. And we will put the Barracuda in lane 1. And I'm already noticing that the Barracuda is a little narrow, which is not typically good for cars on this track. As I explained before, the narrow cars tend to bounce from side to side, and it generates friction, and the friction only serves to slow the cars down. Trying to get the Barracuda pushed up against the starting block, but it's not cooperating. And part of it is these narrow wheels. Okay. So here's the problem. The wheels on the Barracuda are so narrow that they are falling into the little channel that I explained is there. So I've gotten that straightened out. Now get the Mazda right lined up. Now the Mazda doesn't want to line up correctly. It's very important that these cars are pushed up against the launching block, because if they are not pushed up directly against the launching block, then what happens is the launching block punches the cars out. And when it punches the cars out, instead of pushing the cars out, the cars end up sliding to one side of the... Well, they fly up into the air, and then they hit the barriers and crash. So, all right, we've got these cars lined up after a little bit of work. We've got the Barracuda in lane 1. We've got the Mazda RX-7 in lane 2. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. So, the Mazda took that race. The Barracuda, it came out of the start. It didn't even cross the finish line. But part of that is because when it came out of the starting block, it actually clipped. It bumped into one of the barriers. So I don't know if it was partially coming off the track and about to crash, but it definitely, I heard it bump one of the barriers, the first barrier. It bumped right here, bumped into this barrier, and I heard it make a sound, and after that, it just lost its forward momentum and didn't even cross. But I don't know that would have made that much of a difference. So, but the fact is, the car did not crash. And because it didn't crash and come off the track, that race counts. So, it is down 1-0, and the Barracuda is going to need to pull it together in this second race if it is going to want to push a third and final race. So we'll see. All right, Barracuda lines up lane 2. We've got the Mazda RX-7 in lane 1. And the Mazda, again, just doesn't want to line up correctly. All right, now it does. Got it. Okay, so the Mazda is in lane 1. The Barracuda is in lane 2. And here we go. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so this time the Barracuda got a clean launch, clean start, but that didn't help it. It still was not fast enough to beat the Mazda. So the Barracuda is out. The Mazda is in. So we've got the Mazda, the GT40, and the Lolux. So what we will do is we'll go, let's go GT40 and Mazda in this next series. Let's see. Okay, so we will put the Mazda in lane number 1. And we will put the GT40 in lane number 2. Get it lined up. Okay, so GT40 lane 2, Mazda RX-7 in lane number 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Mazda took it. So the Mazda didn't seem, I mean, it was definitely faster than the Barracuda, but I didn't know that it was going to be able to hang with the GT40 because the GT40 looked so fast in its first race. But I think some of the times, how fast the car looks is all relative to which other car it happens to be racing. So we have the RX-7 that is 1 win away from moving to the finals. against the Low Lux, but the cars are going to switch lanes because it's not over yet. So we're going to put the GT40 in lane number 1, and we're going to put the Mazda in lane number 2. Presuming this Mazda, which, why should anything be different now? It just doesn't want to sit properly in the launch bay. All right, we've got it. Okay, Mazda in lane 2, GT40 in lane 1. If the Mazda takes it, the Mazda is on to the finals against the Low Lux. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, well, the Mazda crashed, and because the Mazda crashed, we throw that race out. And as per the rules, if a car crashes twice consecutively, then that car is disqualified. So the Mazda had better not crash again, because if it does, that's it, and it's out. The Ford GT40 made it down the track in what was essentially a glorified test run because the Mazda crashed. So, if the Ford GT40 can stay on the track and the Mazda crashes again, then the Ford GT40 will, in fact, move on. I hope that the Mazda does stay on the track, but we'll see. The amount of force that these cars come out of the launcher with, it's sometimes unpredictable. If they can stay on the track and they're fast cars, then they're good to go. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that. So here we go again. Mazda lane 2, Ford GT40 lane 1, whichever car, well, not whichever car. If the Mazda wins, then it moves on to the finals. If the Ford GT40 wins, then we have one more race. If the Mazda crashes, it's over and the Ford moves on. So let's see what happens. The Mazda said, nah, I'm not going out like that. And the Mazda stays on the track. The Mazda finishes the race. And the Mazda takes the win and moves on to the finals against the Low Lux. So Mazda RX-7 versus the Low Lux. And we will see which of these two is going to be today's All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live champion. So let's get these cars lined up here. The Mazda, which is a fast car but a little temperamental when it comes to lining up in the starting block, will be in lane number 1. Okay, went in pretty easy. And then the Low Lux is going to be in lane number 2. That also went in easy. All right, good signs. So Mazda lane 1, Low Lux lane 2. This is the finals first race. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Low Lux took it with, I'm going to say it took it with ease, even though that the Mazda was moving. The Mazda is no slouch of a car. That car was pretty quick. it got to the finish line, it smashed into the finish line barrier and flew off the track. So that is an indication that the Mazda is a fast car. It's just not as fast as the Lolux. So all the rumors to this point seem to point to the fact that the Lolux definitely is fast, whether it's gravity or drag track. It's a fast car. So let's see what happens when we switch lanes. Okay, so this time the Mazda will be lined up in lane number 1. I'm sorry, in lane number 2. And the Lolux will be lined up in lane number 1. Okay, those went in pretty easily. If the Lolux takes it, then it is today's All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live champion. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, and once again, the Mazda, which was set up in lane number 2, it crashed. And if you remember from the last race, when the Mazda crashed, it was also in lane 2. But then it came back and did well. So the Mazda crashed. So that race gets thrown out. So we'll line them up again. And let me go get the Lolux, which did its thing. And there's two ways you can tell that cars are fast. When they hit the final barrier and they bounce back and they start to roll back, it's the whole idea that they are hitting that barrier with so much force. And then we go back to Isaac Newton and his third law of motion, that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Well, they hit the barrier. That's the action. The reaction is that they bounce back. And the further back that they roll, it shows just how much force they hit that barrier with and how fast they were going to begin with. So the Lolux is definitely fast. So let me go ahead and drop it in, back into lane 1. Okay, got these cars lined up. If the Mazda crashes again, the Mazda is out. And if the Lolux takes the win, then the Lolux wins. So there's two ways the Lolux can win, with a Mazda crash or by just beating the Mazda in this race. If the Mazda, however, somehow comes back, beats the Lolux, then we will have a third and final race. So let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Good race overall, but the Lolux took it, and the Lolux took it very, I don't want to say easily, but easily. There was no question that the Lolux took it. I didn't have to consult the red lights on the finish line to know that the Lolux was fast and is today's champ. But there's a little more, because remember, we had this Rocket Oil Special car, and it was, there was something off about the wheels. I didn't like the way the wheels were turned and moving. So before I decided whether or not I was going to enter it in, I wanted to see if it could actually make it down the track. So we're going to put the Rocket Oil Special, it's going to have a chance up against the Lolux, today's champ. And if it can be competitive, if it can beat it, of course it's going in. But if it can be competitive with the Lolux, then perhaps that means I can enter it into the fleet and not have to worry about its weird wheels causing some problem. So we're going to line this up here. The Rocket Oil Special is going to be in lane number 2. even though I have a feeling with these weird wheels, it's getting hard. It's hard to get it to line up straight, but going to try. Okay, and then the Lowlux is going to be in lane number 1. All right, here we go. We've got the Rocket Oil Special racing for its life. If it doesn't perform well, it's not going to earn a spot in the fleet. It's going to be tossed off, and it's going to be a prize car. So we will see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so here's what we have. The Lowlux beat the Rocket Oil Special. That is clear. But the Rocket Oil Special did make it down the track. It didn't seem to have any problems or issues. So I think it should be okay to be included in the fleet. As long as it can make it down the track. My concern was that the wheels, the weird thing that was going on with the wheels, would make it impossible for that car to get down the track. So now that we know it can get down the track, I'm going to reconsider entering it into the fleet, or I am just going to wait and try to find a better version in the stores that doesn't have wheels that are compromised like that. But one last thing is, after our last episode, I said that I've noticed on some of the other racing channels, Hot Wheels racing channels, they have gatekeeper cars. And what that is they'll have a tournament, and then they'll have a car that wins, similar to the Lowlux. But then the car that wins the tournament will have to go against the quote-unquote gatekeeper car. And the gatekeeper car is the fastest car in the fleet to that point. So what I decided to do was take the champion car, the winning car, from a previous race and make that our gatekeeper, so that every car that wins a racing tournament on that day will have to go up against the gatekeeper to see if it can take the place as the fastest car in the fleet. So previously, the gatekeeper car is our last champ, the What 4-2. That's this one, the What 4-2, and we'll take a closer look at this after this race. But that's going to go up against the Lowlux to see which car is in fact the fastest in our fleet so far. So the What 4-2 was winning its races by a considerable margin, similar to what the Lowlux was doing today. The What 4-2 did earlier this week. So we're getting these lined up. So the Lowlux is in lane 2. The What 4-2 is in lane 1. And let's see. This is the race to see who's the new gatekeeper. All right. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. The Lowlux absolutely smoked the What 4-2. Now that is just going to be the first, and you can see again what I told you about the force, and both cars bounced off the barrier, rolled back, but the What 4-2, I mean, absolutely had no shot in that matchup. Wow. Okay. The Lowlux, all the rumors so far are true. We're going to switch lanes, and these cars are going to go again. But, wow. That was That was impressive. So we're going to go again. We're going to go low lux. Low lux this time is in lane 1. What 4-2 is in lane number 2. Got to get it lined up just right against the block. It doesn't want to stay. Let's try again. It is still all right. The what 4-2, maybe it's a little gun shy after getting blown out like that. Okay, now it's lined up. So we've got the what 4-2 in lane 2. We've got the low lux in lane 1, and this is the race to see who is the gatekeeper, i.e. the fastest car in our fleet so far, the At the Track Live gatekeeper. So let's see what happens. Low lux lane 1, what 4-2 in lane 2. Three, two, one, race. Okay, so maybe the what 4-2 got a just had a bad first race, because it came back in this second race and won clearly, definitively. So there we have it. We have the what 4-2 taking that race, and now we will go to a third race to see which car is, in fact, our gatekeeper, our fastest at the track live, the fastest car in the fleet. So let's see. Okay, so we're going to switch sides of the track once again. This time the what 4-2 is going to be in lane number 1. The low lux is going to be in lane number 2. We've got the cars lined up. The winner will be the fastest car in the fleet. So here we go. Low lux lane 2, what 4-2 lane 1. Let's see what happens. Three, two, one, race. Oh! The low lux takes the race. The low lux is therefore the new gatekeeper car. It is the fastest car in the At the Track Live fleet. So I'm going to gather up these cars. We're going to take them back into the garage and take a look. So I'll see you back over there in just a moment. So the low lux did it. The low lux had an impressive performance, It only lost one race to our previous former gatekeeping car, which was the What 4-2. So as I said, the rumors, the reason I picked up the Lolux was because I'd heard another Hot Wheels collector tell me that he saw some races online and the Lolux was really fast on a channel that did gravity track races. And so I'm usually skeptical about that because typically gravity track speed and drag race track speed aren't the same and don't equate with one another. But in this case, the rumors were true. And the Lolux, let's put this on a spin. Let's take a look all the way around. The Lolux was in fact as fast as advertised. And I don't know, we've only done the Gatekeeper challenge twice, but so far, no, we haven't even done it twice. We've done it once. And the What 4-2, which was the previous Gatekeeper car, which was this one, was beaten out. It held the top spot for a week, and that was about it. But the Lolux was really fast. So I'll be curious to see as we move forward if the Lolux continues to be as dominant as it appeared. Because sometimes you see a car and it wins, it wins a race, and you think, wow, that car is really fast. And it seems really fast, but it's all relative because it depends on the cars it's racing against. So perhaps all the cars the Lolux raced against were pretty slow, so it looked even better. But we know that the What 4-2 is a fast car. And the fact that the Lolux was able to beat it 2 out of 3 times proves that the Lolux is indeed fast, at least based on that small sample size. So as we move forward, we will definitely have new competitors and other cars to challenge the Lolux, which is now our new all about aerodynamics at the track live fastest car in the fleet. Fastest car in the fleet. I'm gonna have to see if I can figure out an acronym to give to our Gatekeeper car. It is the Gatekeeper car, but we're not going to keep calling it that. We're going to give it a special at the track live, put our own little twist on it. But for right now, the Lolux is the fastest car in the fleet, and whichever car comes up this week that turns out to win its races, we'll have to challenge the Lolux to see if it can supplant it as the fastest car in the fleet. So we had 6 more cars that will be entered into the spreadsheet, and therefore that means that by the next episode of At the Track Live, if you go to atthetrack.live, if you select choose a car, in that list you will not only have the 520 cars to choose from, you have 526, which will include these cars and the Lolux. So you can go there, find the number, pick the car, put it in the chat, and from there I will pull the car and we'll race it and see. Maybe you can find a car that you think is faster than the Lolux. Perhaps there's got to be one. Odds are there is a car faster than the Lolux. Of all 526 cars, there's got to be one. Probably there's likely one that's faster than the Lolux. So if you think you can figure out which car that is, find it in the list, pull the number, put it in the chat, and in the next episode I'll pull it out and we'll have that race. Go to atthetrack.live. You can scroll down. There's a calendar which will show you the next time that we are going to be having races. You can also follow us on Instagram at AA Aerodynamics, and I always post in the stories a countdown timer and information and a link to when we're going to have the next series of races. And if you want more information about all about aerodynamics and how to bring our science program to your students, all you have to do is go to aaerodynamics.com and you'll find all the information you need. If you can't remember that, just go to atthetrack.live, click on the link at the top. It will take you there, give you all the contact information, all the curriculum information, everything you need to know to bring our program to your students, your school, or your special event. So, with that said, At the Track Live, we've got more races in the books, and I'm Coach James, and until next time, see you at the races.